Oh my God. I can hear you and see you, and we only wasted 7 minutes and 50 seconds, and I only lost my whole rant. But I don't give two shits because I get to have David Schuster and Stephanie Miller on here. Like the combined talent, I'm like an ant on like a fucking on a planetoid out
Cliff
there.
Schecter,
okay?
do you know what a uniter you are? I took my first sick day in 13 years yesterday when I had David fucking Schuster booked on my show. So I get to see David Schuster now because
was he booked yesterday?
Yes.
I went on yesterday. I was on with Jody and Chris, and we were missing Stephanie, but it was totally understandable. Totally understandable. You get the COVID or whatever vaccine and you're not feeling well, been there. But we missed you, Stephanie. And I don't think we chased away your entire audience. Just
no. I got the COVID and the flu shot at the same time, and apparently I'm the old lady from the Titanic now. So I had a reaction that I've never had before.
Okay, but if you are the old lady from the Titanic, for the love of God, don't throw that diamond overboard. Okay, like please, there's so much you can do with that.
You dumb bitch!
Exactly.
Don't throw the heart of the ocean. No.
What the fuck was on her mind? I mean, that
Cliff,
thing
enough about us. How are you doing?
Yeah, talking about Stephanie. Seriously, you're at least. I mean, we could talk a little bit of politics depending on how long you're up to it and want to stay. But like, for me, just getting you on the show here and being able to chat with you, it makes me happy enough. So, how are you doing? Are you, besides COVID shot, how are you doing?
I love you, Alpha Liberal Cliff Schecter, as you know, every time I have you on. And can I just say another point about Titanic? There was enough room on that fucking wood for two people. So I'm gonna guess that she was MAGA because you know what I mean? Like she just, sorry, see ya, bye.
She totally was MAGA. I think she was like, Jack, I've heard you've been vaccinated, so I'm gonna have to leave you in the water.
Maybe she didn't like Jack's speech.
That's right.
King of the world. Fuck you.
I think at one point Jack said something critical about Charlie Kirk, and so they couldn't let him on there because. Can
I just tell a personal story? I told this on the air, Cliff, but so I did my bike ride with my bike club Saturday, 45 miles out to Pepperdine, and they have this display every year of 3,000 flags. I think it's for 9/11. So we took pictures there and whatever, and there's a bunch of MAGAs that came as a group, all in the red hats, and we're in the rest stop, and they're all parked in the red zones and in disabled spaces.
Of course.
And the cops are like literally going, move your cars. And Cliff, I'm telling you, they don't think they play by any rules. And it starts with Trump. They don't think they have to obey any laws. And they're just acting like a bag of dicks.
They are, and not a particularly well-washed bag of dicks.
They're limp dicks, and they're small too.
Right, all of that. You see, did you ever think I want to take some credit in that David Schuster used to be a serious Emmy-winning anchor, and I've got him
making dick jokes with Stephanie Miller. That's
and Cliff making the distinction with unsanitary dicks, I think, is important.
If anybody goes low, I'm sort of the opposite of Michelle Obama. I'm like, when they go low, I'm looking for the fifth circle of hell. You know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing.
We go Jasmine Crockett when they
exactly. Go low. Exactly. Which, speaking of that, like, I was going to play a clip or two. We don't really need to because I'm almost scared I'll just fuck something up now. But the ass kicking that Kash Patel took yesterday.
Ooh.
One after another, like Dan Goldman and Eric Swalwell, and like some of my favorite Democrats who don't take any crap.
Yeah.
And this sort of little petri dish for stupid was sitting there trying to like respond, like, yeah, you've been a crappy senator. Like, he was trying to be creative, but you've seen him in his leather jacket and boots looking like he's out of like some sort of like Buffalo Bill porn movie. Like
one of our realtor friends said his eyes are like mortgages. One is fixed and one's variable. And that's the kind of immaturity that we engage in here on the Stephanie Miller Show.
It's why I love your show, because I can be me.
Did you see the moment when, they asked him about why was the Epstein thing unsigned? And he goes, should I have used AutoPen?
Wow.
Because that's hilarious, because it's a Biden is old joke and it's about child rape. So it's super funny.
It's super funny, right? Especially when the current guy like disappears for a week. because he's got like animal balloon sized purple blotches on his hands and freaking cankles growing on cankles that have friends that are cankles that are hanging out with other cankles on his cankles. And like, but yeah, it's Biden who was old. This guy clearly
there
is
was a
about to
moment
keel over.
I just saw it a few minutes ago with Kash Patel today under questioning from at least I think it was from today, Jamie Raskin, who played Kash Patel's like crazy podcast claims from last year when he went on these, nutty shows and said, yeah, the FBI has this stuff. They should release it. Why won't they release it? Because it's Democrats and blah, blah. And so Raskin said, okay, this stuff is under the control of the FBI. You are now the FBI director. Why won't you release it? And Patel hemmed and hawed and said, oh, the courts. And Raskin's like, no, it doesn't matter. The courts, you have the material. You can release it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, there were so many moments like, did you see, who was it who asked him, was like, so when you look, did you look over some of the material when you're speaking about, race-based attacks and all, because of course the left and, he's like about Dylan Roof. And he's like, excuse me, can you give me more? He didn't know who Dylan Roof was.
Yeah. Or
you're the fucking FBI director.
Or when the president was asked about lowering the flag for Melissa Hartman, his response was who?
Yeah.
Because she wasn't famous, so she didn't matter. Fuck her kids. I mean,
right? Who was it who said that? Who made that comment? Like, oh, it was Greg Gutfeld on Fox. That piece of shit. Who's like, well, she wasn't famous, so it doesn't count. And I'm like, I don't know. Was Paul Pelosi famous? Was Gabby Giffords famous? Was Abe Lincoln famous? Yeah, because you killed him. You're right.
I mean, Cliff and David. There was who? Do you know anyone that's celebrating Charlie Kirk's death? Nobody I know in our whole sphere has said anything, but this is unequivocally horrible and wrong. And by the way, none of us in these public spaces could not say we were shaken up and there, but for the grace of God goes I. I mean, so, but it's boy, Pam Bondi, if you're going to start arresting people for hate speech, first of all, start with, Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes, who said far worse stuff about Charlie Kirk than anybody on the left.
Start with them. And then that gelatinous Jabberwocky in the White House would be a good one too. Because
if you're going to say no, it's just violent threats, then how about Second Amendment remedies for Hillary? And somebody ought to line Liz Cheney up in front of the firing spot. Start with him.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's nothing they say. This is the biggest difficulty we have. This sort of asymmetry. It's not just of their media size versus ours and whatever. It's that. I get so frustrated when Democrats, news media, takes anything virtually any of them say in good faith. Like the rule of thumb should be you go in and assume that they're making a bullshit political argument. And if they convince you otherwise, like I do think you can disagree with stuff he said or not. I've seen stuff about Spencer Cox in the past. I do actually believe he's better than most of them and has some actual decency to him, even though I disagree with certain things he said. I used to think that about Lisa Murkowski before the BBB bill and whatever. I'm done with her now. It's not to say that you can't find a few mixed in. It's just the default position when your party is, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's that you're full of shit. You're full of hate. You're a liar. And all you're going to do is make everything partisan warfare.
Yeah.
Cliff, again, go ahead.
It's the first week I haven't made a cheap dick joke about Spencer Cox. And I think that in itself is a nod toward unity. I haven't said he's from a family of Cox. I haven't said any of that because he did, he mentioned the violence toward Democrats. But then I think he got a call from Trump. It's like ixnay on the ipsnay. At least he had the decency to go, Cliff, the DOJ just deleted their own study saying the vast majority of violence is right wing.
So that was also going to be part of the rant I was going to go on today. I was going to be like, they're talking about, and it won't be a rant anymore, but I'll just explain it quickly. But first I want to say, for the jokes that you make, Stephanie, I will actually pay for the trip if you, and David too, if we take like a road trip and jump in a car and just drive across Scotland, because everything is Cox there. It's like Cox Bridge, Cock Valley. Like that name.
Will it be like Beavis and Butthead and
yes,
Butthead?
We'll be like, he said, Cock. Okay, so, but like what I was going to go into is we, again, they jump to conclusions right away. We don't really have the full picture on this guy. Yes, right, living with a trans roommate, I believe, or is bi. But I have news for them. There's a person named Caitlyn Jenner who's bi. There's a person named Stephen Miller, whether he knows it or not, who's Jewish. There's a person named Candace Owens. She may not know it. She's black. There are a lot of these types
the last shooter at the church, Cliff, was trans, but also all of the memes of the right wing were on his bullets.
Like
the N-word,
yes.
anti-Semitic slurs, anti-gay slurs. So just because you're transsexual doesn't make you liberal.
Let's start off with that.
Am I the only one that's struck by, and David, you can speak to this in the mainstream media. Can you imagine if this family was liberal, what they'd be saying? This is a right-wing, Trump-loving, MAGA, Christian gun nut family that raised somebody that's capable of shooting someone. And the only thing this kid seemed concerned about in the text chain is the gun. Oh, my dad's, what am I going to say to my dad? I got the gun. Oh my God, it's about the gun. I mean, like, that's not part of this discussion.
Yeah, I have a feeling that when all is said and done and people have had time to sort of study this, and psychologists can look at all this, it will end up being that this kid was incredibly repressed, right? Because he grew up in this conservative MAGA Mormon household where his sexuality was not accepted, or he didn't think would be accepted. And so he felt like he had no way to respond. The only thing he could do to soothe himself was to grab a gun. And by the way, there's also some, there was this state document that came out last night that made no reference, really, that put forward no evidence. They're backing away from the idea that the roommate was trans. The only person who's saying that is the mother, who apparently is not to be believed because she was speculating. So they're backing away from the initial claim that this was trans activism or whatever they want to call it. And now it's just, okay, so he was gay. That's fine. But again, he felt like his sexuality was
Richard Grinnell is gay too, and he's like one of the worst human beings alive. So again,
but also, David, that seems unclear too. So if he was with this trans person, was transitioning to be a woman, even his sexuality seems a little unclear. And to your point, Malcolm Nance on my show this morning called bullshit on these text transcripts, and a lot of people from the left and the right are. They're saying they look like AI. I will say this: even if it's real, what he said in there was, he talked about Charlie Kirk's hate. Well, that could come from any place. That doesn't mean it was his hate for gay people. Let's face it, Charlie Kirk hated lots of people. So again, if we're going to stick to actual facts, and that was what I was going to talk about, here, and I was also going to point out actual facts, which are, again, look, I hate to have to be the one that brings this up all the time, but for this incident to happen in another country like us, no matter what he believes, is so much harder, because if it's another high income Western country, they have limits on the kind of libelous disinformation you can share about people to encourage and incite violence. They have mental health services they fully fund. And when you get a gun, no, grandpa doesn't just get to give a gun to a grandkid. That's not the way it works in any of these other countries. You have to go through a background check. People had said that he had become angrier the last sort of year or two at these family meetings. That would require a red flag law to be kicked in, most likely if his family was noticing it, and they would have gone and done a check on him. Like, it's not to say this couldn't have happened. It's to say we don't try here on purpose. I always pointed out to people, the last thing I'll say in this is the ATF, because of laws they passed, are not allowed to use computers. Just think about that. So they have to go through old paper filings of gun purchases that are inaccurate and whatever, like somebody sitting on the floor going through stuff in the 1970s, because they're not allowed to, because they don't want to stop these things. They don't want to catch these people. That all comes from the right. So does this sort of culture of young, angry men. That comes from the right. So I'm sorry, like, the culture is really important and a part of this, as are our laws. So whatever reason he was doing it for, he was able to get a weapon. Yes, the saddest quote, Cliff, of Charlie Kirk's that everybody's repeating is him saying, that some gun deaths are worth it, for the Second Amendment and blah, blah. And I thought, wow, if he had known there was some super psychic or something that say you're going to be the one, your 1 and 3-year-old are not going to know you and you're not going to know them. Is it worth it? Do you still think it's worth it? I mean, we're the ones that have been fighting for sensible gun safety.
Right.
For
And
things
unfortunately
like this not
today,
to happen to Charlie Kirk.
And today, I think there are many Republicans who still believe that, because that's why they're not wanting to have the conversation about firearms. And, I saw this, response online of some guy who said, look, for Republicans who feel that some sacrifice is needed to protect the Second Amendment, then thank you for your service, Charlie Kirk. Sorry it had to happen to you, but that's how it goes. And I feel like this is the aspect of it, of this whole debate that is sort of missing. And that is this discussion about firearms, because for anybody who supports firearms, tell me, how is it possible that this kid's life benefited from firearms? How did Charlie Kirk's life benefit from this kid having fire? There's no answer.
No. Yeah. Well, and think about this, because guns have passed automobiles as the number one killer of kids. And there's a reason for that, right? Since the 1970s, we started taking on drunk driving. We started making cars safer, seatbelts, airbags, all of that. So the people are just like, oh, he was just giving an family heirloom to his grandson. Well, how about if I right now just felt like handing my car over to my 15-year-old with no driving lessons, no license, no registration, nothing. Just, hey, kid, take it out and do what you want with it. Do we think people would probably die? Well, a gun is the same thing.
Yeah.
And we've chosen to do that.
You let him take the car to a Bengals game, probably, but
hey, we're 2-0. That is so unusual. You can't even imagine it. And we would have beaten LA if it weren't for those refs.
Come up in my LA house talking your trash again, Cliff Checker.
Okay, I'm right up in your kitchen. Okay, I'm just kidding. Of course not. And that might have been
Cliff. I
apologize.
Maybe David can answer too. Just the mainstream media, David. What has happened? This is also part of it. Is you cannot, for instance, mention Butler, Pennsylvania without going, that kid was MAGA. That kid was a Trump voting, and Cliff, as an alpha liberal, I need you to tell Democrats they got to fight back more strongly about whatever the DOJ just deleted. The 90-something% of our violence is, like you say, young, white, right-wing extremists.
Right. So how
are we going to solve the problem unless we identify it accurately?
And I want David to jump in here, but I just want to point out two things quickly without going into my spiel about Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln and pretty much the right being responsible for pretty much most political assassinations in our history and all that, and January 6th, of course, and whatever. But just this year, and they skipped, of course, both of these, we had, and they won't say his name, even though they want Charlie Kirk. Apparently, they want us to have some gleaming, golden bronze or god of a statue of him in the Capitol. An African-American police officer was murdered protecting the CDC because of conspiracy theories they shared on the right, which led a mentally insane person to get a hold of a gun easily and go and started shooting up the windows at the CDC. That was a right-wing attack. And then also I want to say that very same day in Colorado, I'll just say this quickly. That guy had written a neo-Nazi manifesto. He had neo-Nazi beliefs, and he went and he shot up kids in a school. So this still applies. It's mostly right-wingers.
To your point about historical assassinations, people will say Reagan. I'm like, that wasn't political. That was a nutcase that was trying to impress Jodie Foster. It wasn't about politics. I mean, I'm a lesbian. I would do a lot to impress Jodie Foster, but and I was raised in a right-wing family.
Hey, you still may have a shot, I mean, don't go out and do anything like that.
No, I was raised in a right-wing family, but
that's right. Look at behind you.
Yeah, I mean, something's happened, you guys, because I mean, not only we talked about this on air, I wouldn't have had the first idea where to get a gun. This didn't happen when we were growing up. I mean, there is some combination of factors, but we have to start with the facts. And when the vice president of the United States goes on air and says most of the violence is left-wing in the United States, we're not going to have a conversation.
Well, you know what?
It underscores that we're in this post-factual world, which I think gets to something you were saying a minute ago about the mainstream media. There once was a time where the mainstream media was sort of the guardrails of making sure we understood the difference between fact and fiction. Now, I think largely because of corporate ownership and on and on and on, the mainstream media doesn't exist to separate fact from fiction, but rather to present both sides and sort of this to be sort of neutral. And the one saving grace is that I think most people see now that the mainstream media is shit. And in fact, polls show that more people now not only get their news from YouTube and other online platforms, but they trust YouTube now more than they trust the mainstream media.
Well, look at the last week. I mean, Karen Ataya fired from the Washington Post, not even for saying anything in the Washington Post or saying anything bad at all, for quoting Charlie Kirk.
Right. People are getting fired for quoting Charlie
Matt,
Kirk. Exactly. Why wasn't it hate speech when he said it?
Right. Matthew Dowd gets fired from MSNBC because, again, they've got a couple great hosts there, but they're still, I still call them the Scarborough Daily for the most part. And then you've got these rumors that seem to be like they're going to happen, that Barry fucking Weiss is going to take over CBS editorial. So when you hear all of that, you're just like, of course, this is corporate media. They don't care. They will whitewash us. And that is why I, Cliff Schechter, your host, your humble narrator, if you will, I'm going to read you a quick paragraph from the report that they tried to erase. And here it goes. The number of far-right attacks continue to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism, the opening paragraph of the study reads. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamist extremists, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In this same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideological motivated attacks that took 78 lives. So, doing a little math there, that's 550% of the rate on the right versus the left.
Yeah. By
That's
the way,
fact.
a point about what you said about Barry Weiss. I know why you said that, and that's because you're a Jew hater, Cliff Schechter.
I mean, look, you know, the incessant whining about bagels, the nonstop, oh, we have to go watch Seinfeld. What is wrong with these people?
Oh, last time you were on the show, one of my hate tweeters said, well, he's the one that calls me a bulimic ditch licker, and Chris
nice.
Captain Limp Wrist, and then he said, and those two bagel breaths you had on.
Yes.
And I realized he was referring to you and Rude Pundit. So that was nice.
It's not really fair considering I've been with the Homentosh and Gefilte after the bagel, so my breath probably changed to that. So I just think for the sake of accuracy, we really should the guy should really do better research if he's going to come at me like that.
And it always makes me laugh. My producer Chris, who could bench press like 7 Buicks, I dare you to call him Captain Limp Wrist to his face.
Oh my God. I don't know if he has it anymore, but when he was on Twitter, when he used to have the image on his thing of him when he was when he was competing, and he was just a freaking monster. And I was just sitting there, I would like laugh, like, yeah, you all should really try to get in Chris's face and say some shit, because there's about 250 or whatever pounds of muscle there that's going to fucking pummel you.
The official bouncer of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Yep. So you're okay. You're doing okay, even though I'm glad you got the COVID shot. That's a good thing. And I feel like now that we're all known, except for Stephanie, now that me and David are old people, like there are all these other things, like they're just like, you got to go get the shingles, or that's going to, I mean, I know. There's just new things all the time.
We have kissing bugs here that you can get Chagas disease from, which is not like Shabbos. It's different. It's Chagas disease.
So you can't just celebrate it when the sun goes down.
You can't kiss on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. It's only Friday night and Saturday during the day. Sunday night you're completely good. Oh my
Unless
God!
You're going for the double mitzvah Friday night, but that's a whole other
insane and crazy. And again, like I think we covered in that most of the stuff that I wanted to cover, but like.
I have a question for Stephanie. In the midst of all of this and the war on speech and all that kind of stuff, Stephanie, you have long been one of the highest profile progressive voices out there, beloved by millions and on and on. But there's also something about
Stephanie.
Because of
I feel like we're in Trump's press room where all the questions are just fluffing the dear leader.
But the question
did you jump 3 buildings? Sorry.
because of your background, because of your standing. Do you worry when you hear, the nincompoops like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and even Donald Trump talking about going after the media? Yeah. Do you worry about somehow them trying to shut you down, or putting that aside, inspiring more lunatics to go after you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to shut me down. I work for myself in my basement, but I don't really work for anybody. But yeah, David. I mean, I say that there's none of us in these public spaces that weren't shaken by this Charlie Kirk video and didn't think there, but for the grace of God goes I. I mean, it's You could tell Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes were panicking because of all the
Right.
stuff, the shit they'd said about Charlie Kirk, and hoping, people wouldn't retaliate against them. So I think it's a horrible environment, David, for everybody. And
Well, and it is asymmetrical, and that's the danger, which is people don't get it, which is you get some level of fame or celebrity, you, Stephanie, much more than me, but you get some of that, David with his Emmy. I'm just some fucking asshole popping off on the side.
Oh, David's such a fucking show off.
I know. Whoa, Mr. Emmy. I'm just kidding. I do that to him all the time.
I'm a
I like
journalist.
I like to see the modest look on his face, and people like us who are not making actor and rock star money, but still are known by enough people that somebody could want to do something to us. And so you have this asymmetrical situation where we can't hire huge like a actor or so whatever, like 47 bodyguards and security. Like we can't do that, and so we are uniquely vulnerable to this kind of thing. And that is scary.
I know from Sexy Liberal, Cliff, how much security we had to have, metal detectors and plainclothes cops. And, we always joke about the death threat I got last time I was on Fox News, where a guy, threatened to shove an AK-47 up my glory hole and send me into eternity. First of all, women don't have glory holes. Secondly,
he was mixing you up with one of those rest stops you're talking about.
Yeah. And that. And that guy included his number, and we actually called him on the air, which the FBI later said was unwise. But you're right. It's hard to be human and go, fuck you, I'm not afraid. And the fact that as humans, we are afraid sometimes, because there are a lot of lunatics and death threats out there.
And yet we still have to say fuck you, because we have to
and
do
I
our
have this
jobs.
theory.
Yeah.
And I have this theory that it's one of the reasons, and I think I mentioned this to Cliff the other day. I feel like one of the reasons that this is happening is in part because if you look at the story, for example, of Donald Trump taking matters into his own hands with these boats off the coast of Venezuela, he's not sought a declaration of war. He's not following due process. He's just he's the judge, the jury, and the executioner. So he gets to incinerate them, right? And when you have the president of the United States who gets to decide on his own, there's some people I don't like, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I'm just going to kill them. I think the message that sends to a lot of people is, well, there's no such thing as rule of law or justice. We can all sort of do whatever the hell we want. And the difference, as I see it, is I think we would be having a very, very different conversation about Donald Trump attacking the Venezuelan boats if we had the kind of video that we had in the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Absolutely.
We had been able to see people being incinerated and blood spurting everywhere and being fried and thrown in the salt water. If people had to confront that,
and if David pointed out,
we'd be having a conversation about
David's great piece. He pointed out something that I don't know if it had even been widely reported at the time, that they went back around for a second bombing.
Yeah,
because the first one wasn't good enough. They hadn't, they really wanted to make sure that everybody was blown to bits. These likely fishermen.
Civilians in international waters, and telling us we're not being reverential enough about Charlie Kirk's passing. I mean,
right,
David Schuster, I love you, and I only did this to rebook you on my show. I mean, fuck Cliff Schechter, you know what I'm saying? I mean, listen,
the number of times I've heard those words in my life, I can't even tell you, and usually by friends, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean,
Cliff, I'm using you to get to Cliff Schechter. How many times have you heard that?
I'm using you. I want to make Cliff Schechter jealous. That's what I mean. You stop inviting me on. I'm telling you, Stephanie, I'm going to get fucking pissed. And I'm going to make some Bengals jokes at your expense. I'm coming after the Rams. Those fuckers. They cheated. You know they did.
Oh, you're such a truther.
I'm going to get you. It's right. I'm a Super Bowl
You're
truther.
a football denier. You're a football denier.
I'm going to get you and David fighting over USC and Michigan. That's what I want to do.
Wow. Well, there's really nothing to fight about, right? I mean,
see, I'm getting it done. I'm getting it done.
Our men fight on for victory for old SC. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know if any of us actually had anything else to say there. We're just being assholes. But I did want to point out one other point before you leave us, Stephanie, to wherever you go off to enjoy yourself, and I'm sure a beautiful day in LA without the National Guard, but with some COVID reaction to the shot, which is Donald Trump, as was pointed out and sent to me right before the show, again, was so horrified and was so bothered by what happened to his good pal Charlie Kirk that he skipped the Kennedy Center vigil to go play golf.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all knew that yet, and you may not have, because Of course,
When
mainstream corporate media hasn't reported it. Fucking People magazine. That's who you have to rely on now for stuff.
And when they asked him how he's doing, oh, fantastic. Have you heard about this ballroom? It's going to be beautiful.
I have that video too.
And I'm not being sad enough about Charlie.
I know. We're not sad enough. He's off playing golf and bragging about this Louis the 14th gross ballroom while people are starving and are not getting jobs. And you know, I would say that may be one other factor we haven't looked at when it comes to this young man who committed this act against Charlie Kirk, but others, which is how disgruntled and angry some of, you know, and these Gen Z folks and they end up obviously in certain groups and certain sort of like obviously gaming groups and other stuff. I've seen some of that with my kids, just, you know, gaming with friends, or whatever, but how disgruntled some of them are because they're like, look at what you guys do. We're not gonna be able to buy homes until we're 40.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I can't start a family. Like I make 100. I'm portraying one of them.
Well,
you can make $100,000 a year and not be able, you know, it's like in LA on that. That's like you can't come close to raising a family. You can't afford college for them.
A lot of it's nihilistic, you know, is the word that a lot of people have been using, Cliff. It's not, it doesn't fit. Certainly this latest shooter does not fit neatly into boxes that the right wing would like it to, you know?
Nope.
And so, yeah, I agree with you. Well, I want to end this on a note of unity by saying the Bengals suck and Michigan also sucks.
We'll see about that when we did.
Normally I'd say something, but you having the after effects of COVID and coming here and coming on my show, or COVID shot, fine, but coming on the show still and putting up with the fact that I am the dumbest fucking dummy when it comes to technology in the world. And I'm like, I can hear one thing out of one ear, but can't. I'm like, my eyes are like Cash Patel's. Like I couldn't see anything.
Our whole phone system went out this morning. I knocked something over on Chris's thing and knocked us off Free Speech TV. Are you kidding me? I'm the dumbest bitch about technology ever. So no.
And I love you for it. You make people like me have hope, Stephanie.
Stephanie, I just love you, period.
Well, you know what? I'm sweaty and nappy now, which was the name of my first morning show.
You're awesome. Go take a nap and, you know, sweat some more or whatever it is you do.
I love you both.
Always love you. Thank you so much for coming on.
I love you both in a way that makes me fluid, like Gavin Newsom does. Do you know what I'm saying? Just a little bit fluid, a little bit questioning, I'm into the Q category.
Okay. Questioning and reevaluating is really always part of our process in life, Stephanie. It's okay. Do that.
All right.
Seriously, thank you so much. You're awesome.
You are too. Love you, David.
See you, Steph. Take care.
We'll talk about Kirk later.
Yeah.
Bad things. All bad things. She's so fantastic. Bye, Stephanie.
Bye.
All right. We've made Ellie Leonard wait, who really should never have to wait. Ellie Leonard is brilliant and has done more probably, well, certainly than our corporate shithole media, but has done more, I would say, than most in transcribing and keeping track of the Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein connections. She's in fact transcribed the birthday cards, and that's a hell of a fucking endeavor right there that you sat there and did that. Also, a fantastic Montanan who I found out and now lives in New York, and we saw Robert Redford stories when we were young. Because she did it, a river runs through it, and they filmed 3 Days of the Condor, like right next to my home. Great fucking movie, folks. See it. But in any case, Ellie, you're awesome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hey. How do I follow
Ellie,
that
nice
up?
to meet you.
Nice to meet you, David. Yeah, it's great to be here, guys. How do I follow Stephanie? I don't really know how to do this.
It is a difficult thing to do, but luckily you're on with me, and I'm such a fucking jackass I easily will lower the bar to where you will outperform me.
And I have a question for you, Ellie. So
this
came up because of your Epstein expertise. So I think we've already reported that the House is, as of next Tuesday, they're going to have the 218 signatures for the discharge petition. They then have to wait a week, and they then have the vote to force the release of the Epstein files. It's got to go to the Senate, on and on and on. There was some testimony that came out with Cash Patel, which suggested that, he claimed that the documents are actually very limited in terms of what the Department of Justice has, because...
Did both of his eyes claim that, or just one of them?
Because when the FBI was first sort of raiding, it was a very sort of narrow I guess, warrant in terms of what they could grab from Epstein's homes. Is that true? What do you make of that line of testimony?
If that's true, from what I've noticed, so you have the FBI files, but you also have the Epstein estate, which is run by his lawyer and his accountant, right? They were on his will, which is actually public record. You can get his will online. If the FBI,
am I in it?
Yeah, sorry, no.
Fuck.
But
Okay,
if something's not in the FBI files, then that means it's in his estate, which is where the birthday book came from. The fact that they're giving us the birthday book now shows that they are malleable, they are payable, they are starting to give things away. So I don't believe him as far as I could throw him. I'm sure there's plenty in there, because again, if there was nothing in there, we would have it, right? Why all the resistance? If there's nothing to see here, if there's nobody in it, it's not a big deal. We would have everything years ago. We don't have it, so I don't believe him. But also, if they don't have something, then it's split with the estate. The estate has it. I have always asked, no one's talking about the cell phones. Where's Jeffrey Epstein's cell phone, plural? That's going to be his list, right? He didn't have a Rolodex. He had a phone. His phone would have his client list.
Another question for you before I turn it over to Cliff again. So I think one of the most interesting sort of interviews that I've seen over the last several months has been Michael Wolff, who talked about his interviews with Jeffrey Epstein, and that Jeffrey Epstein showed him a couple of photographs of Donald Trump with younger looking women who were topless and a stain on Donald Trump's pants. And Michael Wolff thought that because this was in Epstein's safe, this would have been something that the FBI got when they raided the safe. What's your estimation in terms of whether something like that would be part of the files that could conceivably be released?
My guess is all the photographs. I mean, they may have some, but if it looks anything like the birthday book that they gave us, they put it on a Xerox machine sideways or cockamamie and did it on the lightest setting and got the worst quality photocopy of everything. They probably have that. I trust Michael Wolff. I think he's a great reporter. As a transcriber, his interviews are kind of my holy grail. I have been emailing him. I have been emailing him for over a year going, I will do it for free. Just please let me transcribe those interviews. I believe him that those photos exist. I don't know if they would have been destroyed before the FBI got them. If there was any sort of preemptive plan thinking, because I don't know why at the point that Michael Wolff's interviewing him, this is well after his first sex trial, right? This is many years after that. Why
2015, I think it is, like right before Donald Trump, 2016.
Why would you be keeping anything like that around your house when you've already been convicted one time? Granted, he got the sweetheart deal, but he's already been convicted. He's already a level 3 sex offender. Why would you have pictures of underage girls topless in your house? I feel like that's probably a bad move. So I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't feel comfortable to me. I don't know.
No, it feels like a bad idea. But so I don't know. I don't know if I would assume if they raided his house and the photos were still there, I'm assuming the FBI has them, because I don't think that's something that they would gloss over. But I don't know if anything like that would have been destroyed well before it, if Epstein started to get wary about his interviews with Wolff, he was concerned, but I don't think he ever distrusted Wolff. I mean, he was one of the last people he called before he died. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's why my concern with these files being released, right? So, because we've put a lot into them, right? There's been so much talk about it. And, I did talk about how we did this, I think the subject was a week ago, and then the Kirk thing happened literally at the end of our show, but we were talking a lot about the Epstein situation, and it was sort of like, yeah, they're, at least in the House, they're screwed because we obviously had just filled the seat of the late Jerry Connolly. And we've got the Grijalva one coming up in 6 days with his daughter running. And so, I mean, we're going to have the votes. The problem is, I believe I saw somewhere that again, proving who she truly is, Lisa Murkowski joined the Republicans in voting against releasing. So now she's voted for the BBB bill and this. If we can't kick her ass, and let me say again, folks, because I try to be clear about this, politically, okay, I'm not using violent talk here except for as a metaphor, out of the Senate, I know she's got 2 more years or whatever over this collection of things, because Susan Collins got away with the fake Moderate Act forever, and I think this will finally be, if we have free and fair elections, her Waterloo. She is so far down in that race right now, like 16 points. I think people have finally just gotten sick of it. So in any case, you got Murkowski. So, I mean, even if we do get this through in the House, it's going to be a chore in the Senate.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we do get it through, even in the Senate, you know, by all of this time, these people don't follow the law. In fact, they do the opposite. They're kind of the people that look at the law and say, "What can I do that breaks it?" It seems like they wake up every day to.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, is there anything even? Do you think? I know you can't know this. That there's even going to be anything in there. They may have redacted so much, cut out so much, destroyed so much that you know, I'm sure they'll leave every Democratic name in there. And by the way, any Democrats who did this should rot in hell too. But that doesn't. But I'm talking about using it as a political thing to make it seem like it's just Democrats, and that's what I worry about.
I think that if they release it and everything's redacted, then we'll be doing this all over again. People will say that's not good enough. We need a re-release. Like, I don't think people are going to say, "Okay, thank you. You know, have a nice day. We got what we wanted." I don't think that would ever happen. Their redactions are wild, I have to say, having, because I'm also transcribing the Maxwell interviews, right? The things that they're redacting are very obvious. They will redact Virginia Giuffre's name throughout, but then they'll describe the guy she's dating and his name and where she lived and how old she was and when her birthday was. And it's like, we know.
Wow, you guys have really hit that. Well,
yeah, right. And then
they
won't redact the people that they should be redacting, who, like a Jane Doe, they won't redact a Jane Doe's name. And so my guess is they're going to try to redact Trump out of it. But if it's any, I mean, I just can't imagine that there's nothing in there, because if you look at the birthday book, like, people were brazen. They were on top of the world with what they thought they could get away with and what was cool and what was, you know, what power afforded them. And if you read through all these letters from his business buddies and his buddies that he grew up with that are all, like, you know, optometrists now and brain surgeons, whatever the hell they are.
But are all
like,
sick fucks.
The way they talk about women and girls, young girls, they'll write stories and they'll write them hypothetically, right? So that they can't get in trouble for it. But it's like, they're like, we took the rabbi's daughter and we touched her breasts all over, and then we sent her back to play with her toys. Like they make everything like fictional, but it's like, I've never written a bunch of fictional stories about raping children. Like, I don't just casually, hypothetically write stories like that. And if that's just his, like, birthday book, I can't imagine that they have 100,000 documents with nothing on them. That's
like cockroaches. When you see one, you know 1,000 exist. And
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of the movie Spotlight, where it's like, hey, we found these couple of archdioceses that did this, and you're like, do you really think it's just the couple? And of course, they expand beyond and find a history of just, and it you know, it has to be there with this stuff. These places of privilege. He taught at Dalton. You know, and I can bring this up because I went to one of the rivals of Dalton, where I went to Horace Mann High School, and I have nothing to do with them because there was a scandal while I was there, it turned out, with, you know, that was broken with kids who were preyed upon. And I knew one or two of the professors or teachers who did it. And, you know, they tried to hire their own investigator instead of letting and it's like, oh, the old hire your own investigator thing. And so I've decided to cut off I don't have anything to do with them because we call
that pulling a Woody Allen. Go ahead.
Yes, right. It sickens me. And so again, like it's more the thought that if anything, there's a ton more with Epstein and way beyond him. You know, like these institutions that felt like they were at the top of the world. They're filled with all sorts of, I mean, you know,
right.
The year behind me at my school was James Murdoch. You know what I mean? I mean, these were you know, I'm not trying to brag. I'm more trying to give I hope you don't think I'm trying to brag. Trust me, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just trying to give an idea of the types of people that were there. So this was an institution that felt like they can get away with anything. And it's makes me sick to my core. I mean, it's repulsive, and they do it.
I think we've tapped into one small piece of a machine, honestly. Like, I was saying to someone last week, we live in northern New Jersey, so we're about 20 minutes outside the city. And my son had a soccer game next to Teterboro Airport, and these private planes are flying over our house all day, and they just give me the creeps because they're all the same plane that he flew, like the same style plane. I don't know planes. And to me, what I think when I see them flying over is somewhere in the world with these people, this is probably still happening. There's another Jeffrey Epstein somewhere else.
I would think there has to be many of them, probably, right?
And I think with something like that, and then with the money side of the story, I think is why they're not opening up the files, because it's a chain reaction with the sex abuse, right, to these bigger names. It's a chain reaction into the modeling industry, which is a huge common denominator. But if you start to break open the things he did with money, and you start to talk about like the Bernie Madoff style Ponzi schemes and all these things that he did with Wexner, you're going to take down a lot more people than this group who are all a part of the sex ring. You're going to take like industries down. You're going to take banking systems down. You can
I
take
do. I think it's almost
right?
like it's the too big to fail thing. I think they're protecting it because the names of the people that will be in there will shock the conscience. And I think there's some of them that we would never even have expected. I mean, look, I only saw that preliminary, and I want to be very clear here because the preliminary, and I don't know if it was accurate or not, but I saw, Tony Blair, you know what I mean?
The Black Book.
Yeah. I mean, Prince Albert, obviously. I saw, to my great chagrin, Bill Clinton as somebody who worked for him in 92 and 96 and certainly believed in a lot of his politics. None of that matters. I don't make exceptions. If he did anything like they're saying in there, he should rot in prison too. And God knows how many other folks. Yeah, somebody just brought up our local billionaire, Lefty Gramps here, who's from the Columbus area, Les Wexner, big billionaire out here in Ohio and one of the biggest for a while Republican donors and whatever, owner of the Limited, same deal. And there's so many huge people like that involved. Yeah.
It's a giant spider web. No, it's a giant spider web. I've written about Les Wexner, and I spent a lot of time kind of like tootling around downtown New York and like getting information. I went to Epstein's house and I found out that what's his name? Howard Letnick lives next door. And then you go around the block and you find that big apartment building that was also owned by Les Wexner that is now owned by Mark Epstein, and that he never knew what went on inside. There's a lot of weird stuff. And right now I'm going through, and it's going to take forever, but I'm going through the Black Book, and one by one, I'm verifying who each person is and linking them so that you can make like a digitized copy. But I will say, here's something, if it makes you feel better. Since starting all these and listening to the interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell and studying the heck out of this stuff, I think Bill Clinton is less likely involved than I did when I started. I just assumed because he's kind of a whore,
No,
but
I mean, the horror part we all know because he got caught for that,
right?
And I still think it's important to say,
right?
It wasn't illegal what he did with Monica Lewinsky. The power differential between a president and an intern and the difference in their ages, I still think made it disgusting. And I will say that it's not on the same level as like somebody underage, but it still really bothers
and just the
me.
repercussions against him versus her, like what she's had to deal with versus what he's had to deal with as a result. But from everything I've listened to, from everything I've read, from even Bill Clinton's letter in the birthday book, from even everything that Ghislaine Maxwell says, which I don't trust her on most things, but she's been very definitive about it, is he didn't really hang out with Epstein at all. Like he just didn't hang out with him. He knew her, he hung out with her, he flew around with her and his wife, but they didn't really hang out. They would go to events and be at the same events, but they didn't go to places like the island. They didn't do a lot of stuff together. So I'm hopeful that that's true.
I'm hopeful. I just
assumed
him in 96 and I have to be able to forgive myself. And David may want to jump in here.
Well, I was going to say, to the point you were making earlier.
What did you learn in Arkansas, David?
Well, and I mean, going, to the point you were making earlier about money, I mean, you can say a lot of things about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, but for most of their careers, they were not focused on wealth or money at all. I mean, they had a couple deals that they wanted to make some money off of, but it's a different level compared to the Lutnicks, the Wexners, the others that may show up in the Black Book or that may show up in the ties to Epstein. I mean, with Epstein and Trump, you're talking about a crowd that had incredible amounts of money, and they were not afraid to use incredible amounts of money to get whatever sort of stuff they wanted. That's not quite the Clintons. And I feel like, to your point, one of the greatest dangers that I think I do see for Donald Trump and Republicans, and this is maybe, never mind the pedophilia stuff or whatever, but there's already a public frustration. There's an anger at the wealthy, at the wealthiest part of this country. And to the extent that this scandal rips open that scab and says, look at how the wealthy were behaving and what they were doing with their money and what they were trying to accomplish with, moving people around and little girls. I think that class hatred will be just as potent as anything.
Absolutely, David. I mean, that was one of the pieces I wrote for our Substack, is where I sort of talked about predators and predation and the mindset. We looked at what some psychologists had to say and other folks, and it was just, the ones who do this stuff financially, they prey financially on people because they have no sympathy for anybody who's a union worker or worker and destroy them, or consumers or whatever. It's the same mindset of those folks that are preying on young women. They're sociopaths. They don't care. So yes, it often is this very wealthy class of people who are and when you say wealthy, we're not talking like they've got $10 million or $20 million. Talking about people worth at the very least 100 million, 50 million, 100 million more, who are the kind of wealthy that is beyond, what most people could ever even dream of, and live different lives than those, like take private planes and do these things like that. And, they just think that the rules don't apply to them. And even worse than that, a lot of them are sick. And so they're willing to whatever that is, whether it's the God complex that came to them from financial success, or maybe that was there before and led to, chicken or the egg, but that's the stuff. I just had to highlight this one. I'm just going to say quickly, which is to TWH, who said, who cares about Clinton? I'm going to say, I care. Not because it's Bill Clinton, but he was a powerful figure, and I care about every damn person who raped underage girls. And again, this is coming from somebody, I worked for him. I theoretically did something to help elect him, and I loved him for the most part as a president. So I'm not a Bill Clinton hater by any sense of it, but I'm going to tell you, I don't give out passes for people because they were president 20 years ago or leader 20 years ago. I don't give out passes for people because of good they did. If you raped young girls, you raped young girls, and you should burn for it, frankly.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, metaphorically, going to prison. These days, I just feel like everybody's so, whatever. But I'm hoping that Ellie is right, and I'm hoping that that is not him.
Yeah.
And then I will not have to feel that way.
Yeah.
So here's a really important question. Well, David may have one or two more because he has to go get his kids soon. Do you have
I gotta go get my kids. So,
David?
Yeah, I do too.
So Ellie, out of all this, people, where can people find your stuff, and what's the next big thing that you're going to be reporting on or exposing or whatnot?
Okay, so I am on all the social media. I'm under Red Pencil Script, which is my small business. I'm a transcriber. I own a small business. And then you can find me on Substack under Ellie Leonard, the Panicked Unpaid Writer, any number of ways they title me there, but those two should find you there. And then what I'm working on right now, some of the long-term stuff, I'm a really nitpicky kind of data person. So like I said, I'm going through the Black Book, and I'm researching each person individually to make sure I have the right person. And then I'm linking who they are and what they did and how they were connected. And then I'm categorizing them as far as, are they financial, are they business, are they personal, are they from the fashion industry, blah, 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 blah. And so that people can basically go through and see everybody that's in this Black Book. So I'm doing that, and then I'm going through and transcribing the Maxwell interviews. I'm on day 2, and then I'm going back and doing breakdowns of the things that she says, the things where the DOJ either made mistakes or just totally ignored something that was right there in front of them, how many times they veer from something that she starts to talk about and they get out of it and they say, nope, let's not talk about that. Lots of really interesting tidbits in those interviews. And I find the whole thing unnecessary to begin with, but There you
And
have
when
it.
will you publish some of this stuff? When will you publish, for example, the Black Book? How long will that take?
So that'll take a while, but I have it published now, and it's just an ongoing thing that I'm populating every night. So I'm trying to get through like half a letter a night because there's a million. I think there's 1,900 people in it, so it's quite long. And one page in the Black Book, I think there's 95 pages. One page takes about an hour to research, so that's going to take a minute. But I have it. I have it published already. I'm filling it in every night as we go, and then I have I have the birthday book broken down into 5 parts transcribed. I kind of made the pictures look a little nicer. I transcribed all the letters from his parents and his friends and all the captions so it's easier to read, and I have that in 5 parts. And then I have the Ghislaine Maxwell interviews. I've got day 1 is all up on my Substack, and then I'm working on day 2.
Well, I am going to follow you right now, and
Thank
it is
you.
a pleasure to meet you, and
Yes.
you're doing remarkable work. I am going to go
Thank
pick
you.
up the kids. If you and Cliff are going to keep chatting, that's fine. Cliff, thank you as always, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
David, we hit a home run with the 2 guests on this
Oh,
show.
totally.
I'm pretty excited about it all.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
All right, we'll talk
Thank
soon,
you.
you guys. Take care.
Bye, David.
Take care. And I don't know what your schedule is, Ellie. We can talk another 5-10 minutes or so. I'm kind of
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that'd be great.
because I know we got you on late.
No worries.
But because I'm a moron and the technology stuff was not
Okay.
working in quite the way it was supposed to. But I want to ask you the most important question I can think of, which is, look, I grew up in New York City. I love my hometown. Always, my wife's from Cincinnati here, wanted to raise the kids here and whatever. But
Mhm.
I do have to ask you this: how the hell could you leave Montana? I mean, like all I want to do in life is find a way. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be like 1883, and get on the Oregon
Yeah.
Trail. If people haven't seen that, you can do that. And but I want to like just go and buy a house and
Mhm.
live on the land and enjoy myself and stare at beauty every day. And I just want to go live in Montana.
Yeah,
That's what I
that's
want to
fair.
do.
That's fair.
So,
We get asked that probably twice a day by anyone we run into. When we moved here and we started going to school here, people already knew who we were. They go, "Oh, you're the Montana people. Oh, we were expecting you."
oh wait,
Um,
did you move there as a kid or did you go
nope,
to? No, you mean you went to college there?
no, my kid's going to school. Sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry.
clarify.
Okay, I
Your
thought you
bad.
said you. Okay, my
No,
bad.
my kid. Sorry. We joked that we used to have a bison herd a block from our house when we lived in Montana, and now we drive past the Bada Bing on the way to baseball practice. So things are a little different than they used to be. It's been good. The reason we moved was, I mean, it was mainly for work.
I
Like I said,
understand. I mean, I really do understand.
yeah. I've got a small business, and everybody I've ever worked with is in Manhattan, like almost everybody. I've got one person in LA, and then everybody else is out here. So that was an easy transfer for me. My husband works for the railroad, but we also were anticipating the election. We lived in a little bit of a vacuum. Like we were in a public school system full of little blonde, blue-eyed kids. Like we wanted to we wanted to raise our kids in a way that they lived in the world and didn't go to college and go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize this is what it looked like out here."
Fair enough.
Um,
There's not like enough, and I'm truly asking this because,
Mhm.
to my great chagrin, that is just the only part. I think I've been to 37 or 38 states. I mean, the Pacific Northwest is the only part of this country. It sucked because every time like something would come up where I'd have a meeting with a client or something in Seattle, it'd always fall through. Like that whole area up there, Montana, Washington, Oregon, which I can't hear enough beautiful things about. Like I've been to most of the rest of the West, but I haven't been up there, and need to do that. So,
Yeah.
So that's just my background is saying, is there not still at all like any kind of a Native American population that's mixed in? So at least kids
There
see some
is.
diversity there.
There is not as much where we lived. We lived in a real red county, and so it was
Right.
there weren't very many Native kids. If you went, so we were south of Missoula, so we were kind of in, a city, quote
Yeah.
unquote. We were close to the Blackfoot Reservation, and so like when the kids would have, you know, performances at their school, different things like that, the tribes would come in and they would do like dance performances, and they would take the kids to different events to teach them about like native tribal stuff. But
That's
in
cool.
our school system, we didn't have a lot. There's a guy named, I forget what his name's like Superman or something like that, but he's a Native American rapper that's pretty popular, and he would come to their school and like perform for them, and then they would all dance. And they have, they have the regalia with the tobacco tins. They're folded in half, and those create all the sound when they're dancing. And so there was a lot of really cool stuff that they got to see. But diversity wise, that outside of that, there wasn't much diversity.
So wait, how long ago did you move?
In 2023.
So not that long ago. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how old your kids are, and if you don't want to share that information, you don't need
they're
to.
There's all
Okay.
of them. I have 4 of them, so they're every age.
Okay, and so at least like then 1 or 2 of them were old enough that they were
Yes.
getting the Montana education, and they haven't
Yes.
been born. Okay, cool. Off air,
Yeah.
I'll ask you
Yeah.
like what neighborhood you're in and all of that stuff, because I
Sure.
can tell you, although at this point I think people can look it up because I've probably said stuff enough, where the 3 days of the Condor scene was filmed. That was right next to my building where I apparently was introduced to Robert Redford, but was like 2. So I don't think it
don't
really
remember.
cooked for me. And then went to a conference for a client. I want to say I was doing PR work for the Alliance for Climate Protection, which was Gore's group. And I want to say it was around like 2011, 2012, and got to go to a conference where Robert Redford showed up and got to meet
Nice.
him. And he was just the greatest. I mean,
Nice.
again, like hard to know. I'm not claiming, oh my God, well, he was my best friend. I mean, I met him for like 5 minutes, right? And talked to him a little bit, but so I have no idea. But of course, I always heard from various sources, and obviously in my belief in his politics and charity and everything he did, he seemed like a pretty wonderful guy. So I'll have to tell you, because you can go check out that area. It's fun.
Very cool.
But anything else that we have yet to cover that we have missed?
Everything is new every single day. I fear checking the news every morning, so we will probably have something 5 minutes after we get off here. But yeah, no, nothing right now.
No, this is, I mean, again, I'm jinxing us right now. I'm gonna knock on wood. Far better ending than a week ago when we found out about Charlie Kirk the last 10 minutes of our program, and all of our jaws kind of dropped, and we're like, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah.
I
didn't really, sort of my shtick, I guess, for lack of a better word, is I don't often write about breaking news on my Substack because I just feel like everybody's writing about the same story. So why do I need to write about the same story? And so I kind of waited to talk about Charlie Kirk a little bit just because I just, everybody's talking about it and just give them their moment. But I did post a small live yesterday just talking about how impossible it is to turn off empathy. And even if you adamantly disagree with somebody or they have harmed people on some level and groups of people, it's very hard. Like you could turn on the news and see if hypothetically see Saddam Hussein get shot in the head on the news, and you would still be shocked and horrified and saddened like by seeing
the visceral view of a murder
right
is something different. It's why the biggest work I did was with 5 years running sort of digital stuff for every town for gun safety. And I don't know why. I mean, because I would never want to exploit kids. These parents are going through enough, but there were a number of parents that wanted it to be shown because the way Emmett Till's body was shown and horrified the nation. And I do think if you see our reaction to the Charlie Kirk thing, and a lot of it's because of that graphic video, I kind of feel like, we need to find a way regularly to show if people are, again, with their permission, the victims of gun violence and and particularly the muzzle velocity of an AR-15. Like people don't understand the difference. I used to be on a riflery squad because I used to spend summers in New Hampshire, and the difference in what these things can do to you to the point of where they're identifying people by DNA. And I just think if Americans were forced to see that, this would change. And so I am a full-on advocate for them seeing it because again, think about, I always point to that, infamous picture of the sadly horrific naked little girl, a Vietnamese girl running from the napalm, and the effect that that had on people here. You know, those things affect people.
Yeah.
I was the unlucky enough through a series of events, including the fact that it was election day in New York, to see the second plane hit literally with my own eyes on 9/11. And that is
I'm
something
sorry.
that you couldn't make me forget. You know, it was traumatizing for months afterwards. And I don't think I can remember every detail from seeing it to when it hit, to the vibrations down in the Canyon of Heroes down in the bottom of Manhattan, to fireball, everything. And so
Yeah.
I don't want, it's not that I want to traumatize people, but I think if they had to see some of these pictures, they would understand what these weapons do and say that they have no place in civilian society.
I feel like Life magazine used to try to do more of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember as a kid, I loved sitting in the photography section of the library because they had all the old big Life coffee books, and they would just show war for what it was. And now war and battles of any kind is just a word. Like people say, "Oh, there's a war happening in such and such country," and it's just a word to us because we're in America. We've never had to deal with war. Like we go home to our beds at night. So I think on some level you're right with that. Like we're just so far removed from the idea of what that even means. I've been working in a class this week of middle school kids, and the teacher's teaching about the Holocaust, and half the kids had never heard of it. Like they didn't even know what it was, which is
That is depressing.
shocking. It's depressing and shocking, and it's like my kids have known since their birth because I told them about it, you know. But like,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's it. I
was just say, look at this. I mean, here's a classic from our friend Amethyst Pony here.
Yeah.
Look at what the USAID cuts are doing. Now, if they we were able to show some of these kids who probably are now dying from HIV, from AIDS, dying from other preventable diseases, whether it be measles or whatever. Sadly, because of Robert Kennedy, that may be us soon. But maybe if we would show people the results of what these USAID cuts did, they wouldn't be nameless, faceless, sort of, bloodless, like non-3D, names on a list. They were, or just check marks on a list or whatever, right? X's. They would be humans who are dead, which is why when people try to find sympathy for Elon Musk, none. Don't ever come to me for sympathy for Elon Musk. They're dead because of him. And again, do not commit acts of violence, anybody. Okay, because I can't not tell the truth and not speak strongly about this stuff because I will not be corporate media. He pushed stuff and people have died because of it. It doesn't change the fact that we don't do that. And I protest him everywhere you can. Make his life uncomfortable. Make it so he can't. As far as these people like, oh, he was eating dinner. I don't give a shit. Go bother him while he's eating dinner. Bother him while he's in a movie theater. Make it so he can't live a normal life because he's been a piece of shit. But do not touch him. Do not go near him to the point of where there's a physical threat. Because again, all you're doing is playing into their hands, and all you're doing is being like them. There's a reason Martin Luther King won in the end. He gave his life for this, and what we were able to pass in civil rights, and that was civil disobedience. It works. So I don't know. That's my take on all of it.
I agree. 100%.
All right, Ellie. So what do the rest of us do to be as awesome as you? Can you tell us?
Shower daily.
Okay, that's good.
Drink lots of water.
Water's good. There's more of a way of saying again, because I do right before you leave want to make sure that everybody knows where to find you. I'll say quickly before I say that, folks, I should do some program notes here. We have Amped Up with Cliff Schechter. Tomorrow will be me and David Schuster at 2 p.m. That's the one that's only on Substack. And it'll be an interesting continuation of some of these themes because Julie Roginski is coming on. And she has, with Olga Lautman, chronicled a lot of the Russia-Trump connections, and a lot of that was around the various beauty pageants he bought and the rooms he snuck into, which, by the way, he bragged about. So we don't have to speculate. He bragged about in 2005 on Howard Stern about how he'd walk in just so he could see teenage girls changing, so there aren't too many data points there on this about Trump. So I think some of that will be our conversation, other things, but Julie's great. It should be an awesome conversation about both domestic and foreign policy. Please join us again, only on Substack. Look at our great moderator, Jim Williams, putting that up there for you.
Thanks, Jim.
But for you, Ellie.
Yes.
as you said. So again, is it just Ellie Leonard?
You
Your
can look up
Substack?
at Substack, ellieleonard.substack.com, or you can look
There we
up the Panicked Unpaid Writer, which
I
is
know I
I don't know.
follow you, so I see your stuff, but I don't ever. It's sort of like they pop up my feed. I don't remember the
Yeah.
names
Well,
of things.
I
So
think Substack's still a tiny bit clunky. I think they're getting their tech in order. I don't think they expected the onslaught of independent journalism that they got this year, so they're getting there.
especially on the video side,
Yeah.
there've been some, but again, like nothing's perfect. And I pointed out to people many times, blueamp.co, folks, come join us there because not that I don't, Cliffs_edge on YouTube. Please, do that. Come to YouTube. We're able to do a lot of content there. A lot of it ends up on Substack. But the thing about Substack is that it's not a monopoly. They're not going to show up giving. They don't belong to Google, and they're not going to so that they maybe show up with a 24 karat gold, Tim Cook kind of present. We don't have to worry about that. They answer my inquiries. They give us your data and not your personal stuff or whatever, just your emails. So if ever YouTube were ever to sever our relationship by cutting my channel, I don't know how to reach anybody from there. Whereas if you are a subscriber on Substack, I have your email, so I can just send you an email and say, hey, we're going over to Beehive or Ghost or wherever the hell we're going, some other platform. Please stay with us. We'll give you the same quality of stuff. And that is really important to me. We own that and we can do that. So Substack's not perfect, but
they were not on the stage at the inauguration. I know that. So
there's that. And as I believe it was Winston Churchill said about democracy, it's the worst form of government except for all the others.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a Substack. It's the worst form of social media except for all the others. So nothing's perfect. We do our best. All right. Well, everybody knows where to find Ellie. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
If that would dissolve you anyway, please go sign up for what she's doing. Again, independent creator. Doing it. Please, Ellie, actually, I may have said this to you before, but apply for a sound check grant.
I did.
Oh, awesome. I will. We've got other folks looking at it. I know you personally, so I'll probably recuse myself. But I kind of feel like,
good idea.
I kind of feel like your work doesn't need me boosting it. It'll speak for itself.
Yeah, thank you.
And we need to support everybody like Ellie that we can with those kinds of grants. So please do that. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to give people a couple program notes before I leave. But thanks so much for joining us, and keep on keeping on.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, folks. I apologize. I don't even know if I do apologize. Look, you know what you get with me. There are going to be technical difficulties. Again, that was hilarious. I was testing out putting on videos on here, and I must have not, because I wanted to play those videos that we ended up describing to you, and I must have not undone what I did. So that was keeping Stephanie out. That was pretty funny when she was making jokes and you could all hear her. And then the audio issue, who knows? I am somebody who is impressive enough that I can find numerous issues to cause in any one show. All of you be careful too, seriously, because it's dangerous out there right now. And there are a lot of people on the right that are advocating and they're advocating violence. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And, we're all publishers now, or we're all whatever. If you even write comments in places, if you put stuff on your Facebook, just be cognizant of, it doesn't mean back down. We can't back down because, again, then we lose democracy. But, be smart about things. Don't take unnecessary risks, and take care of yourselves. I want to make sure to give credit where credit is due here. Sheldon Hughes, my man, agreed with me. No one gets a pass and gave us a $2 super chat. He also, Sheldon gave and he does this a lot. Sheldon. He gave a Cliff's Edge membership, which I really appreciate. So, anyone else out there? This is the part where I normally, will do my little who's coming with me, my Jerry Maguire. But how about we got two of these? The super chats allow me to keep doing this. Every little bit matters. Super stickers, memberships, places. So And I'll be doing a push in the future to let you know. David and I are going to add a Q&A section where you can ask us anything at Substack, and that would be for the paid members. You'll get all of the important information for the free members. We'll tell you fun, crazy, behind-the-scenes stories for the paid members. But how about this? How about if any of you folks can just, on the way out, come on, let's leave on a positive note. Lefty Gramps, my friend, he also is a subscriber at Substack. Keep it up, Cliff. Thank you so much. Mr. Android, Lefty Gramps was $5. Mr. Android, $1.11. Again, every little bit helps. It's fantastic. I see Mike McAndrews there, and I should tell you, he supported us on Substack with a founding gift, which was incredible. And we are creating a board of regular folks. Not trying to upstage you, Mr. Android, but what Mike McAndrews was willing to do, we're creating a board of regular folks, and you and I, Mike, have to talk again and get back in touch. And Mike will be on that board, and we'll probably add some other. Thank you, Michael. I wasn't asking that for you to give me more of your funds. We'd already reached our thing, but of course, Sheldon Hughes, another $1. You're incredible, Sheldon Hughes. I think you're going to be on our board too if you're interested. And Mike gave us $10. I lost it as a super chat. Where did it go? There it is. Thank you so much. But again, the point of that was just to say, I think we're going to put together a 12 to 15 member board, and it's going to be mostly made up of just regular folks who haven't worked in politics, because I want like the outside view. We're going to remain outsiders. I don't try to pretend I was somebody else ever, and then who I am. Like, yes, I told you at the school I went to before, I wrote ads for Biden in 20 when we ended Trump's reign, and hoped and thought that might be forever. This is a YouTube leftist cesspool bubble chamber. Hey, Ken Neville. Did you just want me to say your name so you feel a little bit more famous? Now, those are a lot of like multi-syllabic words you put together there. YouTube leftist cesspool. How did you put all those together without misspelling something? Impressive work, Ken. Impressive. But Ken, the obvious genius notwithstanding. Oh, and F you. Wow. That's not really impressive, Ken. You went down like to just F you. Really? That's the best you could do? You can't do any better than that? You can't sort of, I mean, the cesspool bubble stuff, my guess is you probably took all night to think that one up. Did you? Maybe hit up Chat GPT for that? Yeah. All right. Well, in any case, you must feel really good about yourself, and clearly you have a wonderful life, and you're terrifically popular that you show up to somewhere like this so we can laugh at you, because we are laughing at you. But Ken Neville and his obviously somewhat mushroomed penis aside, let's just talk about the fact that I'm going to put this board together. Ken will not be on it. We may put his picture on the wall so we can laugh, but that will be about it. And Michael McAndrews, I'm going to formally ask you, Devin. I think Lefty Gramps has certainly earned that privilege too. And there'll be some other folks, because I would love to check in with folks. It won't be any real work. Well, I probably check in like once a quarter. If you wanted to be once a month, we could. And we don't want to talk to hear ourselves speak, but I want you all to because I want to get opinions from regular folks, you know, who are disheartened by the state of this country, who are very angry with where things are. And I don't know why I should have said Jim and Cynthia just also too should be on this. And I want to know from you guys, you know, like what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we could do better. I have no pride in authorship. That's why I like when people like Ken come around here and try to MJ. No, that's right. MJ sent me constant like I'm sorry, MJ, because you come to me on oh come on. Venmo. I promise. We'll include everyone who's been supportive of us, certainly financially. We'll think of other folks, and maybe it'll be a bigger group, because, you know, I want to get a cross section of folks. And I want to understand people, again, that haven't been involved in the business of politics, what you like that we're doing, what you don't like, what we can add to here, Substack, other places. And I think that's important. I think you guys can be incredibly helpful there. So we're going to do it. And really, that's all that that I wanted to say there, which is thank you. You're obviously, your generosity, your viewership, couldn't do it without you. So thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed the folks we had on. I've been wanting to get Stephanie on forever. I'm so glad that worked out, that we got her on here. She's a hero of mine. Ellie Leonard is brilliant and fantastic and is going to take over the world. And to have those two on the same show, I know I had two women on. I'm sure there's somebody on the right who's upset about that. Oh, and one of them was a lesbian. Wow. I don't know. We're not. Maybe that was somehow disrespecting Charlie Kirk. I have no idea. In any case, you all take care. Have yourselves a great day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Do something you enjoy. And we'll be back. Same bad time, same bad channel next week. Until then, tomorrow, watch our version on Substack with Julie Roginski, and that should be fun on Amped Up with Cliff Schechter. And as we say here quite often towards the end, my friends, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.